Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Play the Tape. I am your host, Derek J. Fields. I have a special guest today. Well, all my guests are special. I say that every time, but it's true. Sisters and brothers in this fight of mental illness, substance use, recovery, suicide prevention, human trafficking, everything under the sun that people have their testimonies about their trials and their tribulations. That's what we're here to do on this platform of Play the Tape. Play the Tape is a platform of community support and advocacy. What we are not, full disclaimer, is that we are not licensed clinical social workers or clinical therapists or certified drug and alcohol counselors. I have and will They will be on the show, and they have been on the show. But today, my guest is my sister. We met at maybe about a couple years ago at a NAMI support group, which is a National Alliance on Mental Illness. I know I talk about NAMI a lot because I am the secretary and I'm one of the co-facilitators at the connection group in Greenville, North Carolina, that meets every second Tuesday of the month from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Covenant Church in Greenville, North Carolina. And we went. They wanted the vice president of NAMI, Keith. He wanted us to come share our stories at CIT. CIT is Crisis Intervention Team, also Crisis Intervention Training, which police officers, first responders, and correctional officers, they get this type of training for de-escalation when it comes to mental health and substance abuse crisis. They know how to come out there. Once you call the new national number of 988, that is the helpline for mental health and substance use crisis. You call, ask for a CIT trained officer, and they will come and help facilitate and help get you integrated family services, mobile crisis, which will offer certified and or licensed counselors that can get people more help that they need. I heard part of her story, and I had to have her on the show. Her story, like all of my guests, is very powerful, and it needs to be told. And without further ado, my guest today is Alexis. How you doing today, my sister?
I am doing fantastic and even better now that I'm here talking with you, Derek.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Listen, I thank you. I love you. And I'm honored that you're here to come share your story because I know it's not easy. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with my guests, with my audience and my listeners today. We really appreciate you coming up here. Floor is yours.
Yes, sir, of course. Well, for starters, as if you haven't already figured it out, my name is Alexis. I met Derek. It feels like not too long ago, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's definitely been quite a few years. So I was thinking about it, and I think I'll kind of start maybe when I was up until about 7th or 8th grade. I was the stereotypical pretty good kid. I struggled a lot with being anxious and maybe having some thoughts that seemed abnormal compared to other children, my peers. They were very obsessive in nature, but it was nothing that was outwardly concerning. Like if you ran into me at a playground, you'd think this is a normal kid. I think about 8th grade seems to be a standard time when in self-exploration and figuring out who we are, we're starting to learn our independence from our families, from our parents. I think that's about the time I noticed that I was different, which is it's a common story. Everyone noticed that they're different from their peers around 7th, 8th grade. But for me, it was very isolating. I started to get really depressed. I was just starting to lose that little spark in my personality.
Mm-hmm.
This continued through high school. I think it was coupled with the immaturity of just that age. But right after high school, I decided I wanted to seek help from my university's counseling office. During that time, I did not know how to have a clean plate. I didn't know what rest was. I didn't know what relaxation was. Self-care, who's she? I was working multiple jobs. I was attending 2 different colleges at that point because who needs sleep, right?
What was the ambition for the 2 colleges? What was the ambition for No
I
self-care. Who's she?
I think deep down, I just genuinely held no value to myself. It stemmed from back in that seventh, eighth grade when I never really figured out who I was. I still was so insecure, felt so different from everybody else that I thought, well, I'm going to try everything. I'm going to get good at everything, do everything. If I keep myself so busy that I don't have time to sit down at the end of the day and think, I'm not left alone with my thoughts. I'm not thinking about how I don't feel good about myself. I'm not left with the depression. I'm not. It was a mix of if I keep myself so busy that I don't have time to think, and if I try a little bit of everything, maybe I'll figure out what I want to be, who I am. Maybe I'll finally become someone I like.
Find your tribe. Find your
Yeah,
group. Right.
that's
And
that's a good way
yeah.
to
When
say that.
that's from this eighth grade to how old were you when you were into college?
About this time, about 18, I'd say.
Wow. So okay. Okay. So from eighth grade to about 18, maybe 10 years, maybe 9. That's still pretty quick of an there's I might need to talk to someone.
Mm.
Where did that spark? Where did that come from? That awareness, because of being, as you say, being busy, trying to figure out who Alexa is and what I'm good at and where I belong. Where's my tribe? How did that awareness from eighth grade to 18, the beginning of college, 2 colleges, working multiple jobs, staying busy? How did that awareness get there?
At the end of the night, when I would get home, whenever that would be, because I'd have to leave again in a couple hours, the awareness of, wow, I might need to get some help for this. That really began when I would get home at the end of the day and it felt like panic was grabbing me because I was alone and I was thinking. Sometimes I would stifle it with a drink. I would stifle it with whatever I had at my disposal. Um, it became too much for me to handle. And now looking back, I knew it was something mental health, but I didn't know to what extent it was actual mental health. I hadn't quite put two and two together yet. Around this time, the lack of sleep and stress are two huge aggravators for mental health. As I'm sure you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's two of the biggest, actually, that there can be. I started becoming very fixated on the thought process of killing myself with a red handled knife. It would replay in my head all the time, specifically with a red handled knife, which looking back now, was an obsessive compulsive thought. I was terrified of getting near waterways. I would go out of my way to avoid them because I thought if I got too close to a waterway, I would try and jump off. I would try and drown myself. I just became so fixated on those couple things, and I knew normal people didn't think like that, but I didn't realize how abnormal it was. Um, so I reached out to the counseling office after, I think it was about one visit. She all but said, "You are outside of my pay grade."
Mm.
And she wrote me a referral letter to a psychiatrist. I decided, what's the worst that can happen? And I went. Um, some doctors are better than others.
True. This is true.
And I do not fault the psychiatric field as a whole. I do not fault all doctors. I am not going to cast that label that they are all bad and that you should not seek help on account that there are a few bad doctors. I mean, there are a few bad chefs out there, but I still love eating at a restaurant.
I like that analogy. That's a good little spin on it. I like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I felt like she didn't really hear my story. She, on the first visit, diagnosed me with obsessive compulsive disorder, which is probably not surprising. And she wrote me a prescription for a SSRI, which is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. They are typically prescribed for depression, anxiety, pretty much trying to get more serotonin up in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it. Within a few weeks, I started to feel good. I started to feel too good. I started to feel like I didn't need to sleep at all because life was great. I would either forget to eat, or when I did remember to eat, I would eat too much. I would drive fast. I would do any type of reckless behavior because the way I was thinking was that nothing could hurt me, that I was untouchable. That was very much my mindset. I was extremely impulsive. I had little to no impulse control. The level of neuroticism I had was off the chart. Realizing now that was full-fledged mania. I did get that diagnosis, and it was induced by the SSRI that I was on. If you have family history of bipolar disorder or anything of that sort, that is very important to talk to your psychiatrist about before receiving any type of SSRI prescription.
How old were you when that occurred? Because
Night.
19. So from 18, understanding, okay, it's time to get help, got referred. And then they put you on the SSR. What is it? Say that again. How do you say that?
SSRI.
Okay. At 19, let me back up for a second.
Yeah, of course.
The intrusive thoughts, the
Mhm.
the the manic episodes, the how did you where did that come from? Looking back where you are now and through the mental stability that you've gained over the years,
Mhm.
where could you realize where that came from? Where those intrusive thoughts, where those suicide ideations came from? What was the for me,
Mhm.
a lot of my mental illness stemmed off of trauma. Where if it was childhood trauma, where I have a very high ACE score, adverse childhood experience, I have a very high ACE score, and then I had combat trauma, where I was in 2 tours in Iraq, and I don't uh, I don't use PTSD exclusively for the military.
Yeah.
PTSD can happen, first responders, regular people in the world. Traumatic events happen.
Mhm.
I'm asking for that to happen. Was there any trauma that you could attribute to that or pinpoint?
Yes, there definitely was some childhood trauma. I had family members who had some mental illness as well and never received treatment. I realize now, especially being a mother, how much that can truly play a role if you're um, not receiving treatment or acknowledging it. You know, there are different ways to treat, but a lot of that I feel like is not my story to tell. So if it,
That's fine.
yeah,
I respect that, and that's okay. I respect that. That's not your story to tell. I just wanted the listeners to get a sense of, okay, where did this come from?
mhm,
What was the spark, or what was the flashpoint, or what was the initiation of, oh, what was going on in Alexa's life to get her to not feel good about herself, not taking that self-care, not getting that sleep, trying different numerous things to find her tribe or to identify herself as what she's good at so she couldn't feel a certain way. That's all. But
yeah, of course.
yeah.
That's something I'm still working through. Conversations are still being had, kind of
Hmm.
deal. This is only, I'm about 5 years removed from the story I'm telling today. So things are still happening.
Okay.
But yes, we will leave it at I was affected by things that other people were going through a little bit too closely as a small child.
Could I ask you a question about that?
Of course.
Not getting into the explanation of their story. Respect that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Getting your opinion on, because I've heard it told to me so many times, and it in certain different situations in different places. Uh, I believe that a child affected by their parent or parent figure or guardian should not take on the responsibility in their recovery, in their treatment, I shouldn't have to take on that responsibility. That was an adult who made a decision. I am a child now.
Absolutely.
As I grow, as I become a teenager, adolescence, young adulthood, it's the decisions that I make. Yes, I own that, but I do not take responsibility for I'm in eighth grade, or I'm 5, or I'm 7, or I'm 10, and that there's this adult that is I'm entrusted to,
Mhm.
and I'm have to be responsible for what they did. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not that type of trauma or abuse in any situation. What do you think?
I 1000% agree with you. Um, Even just being around it, if you, there's a different, or you can sit there and not yell at your child all day long, but if you take it out or are cruel to people around them and they witness that, there's a level of trauma that comes from that too.
Absolutely.
Not just
Absolutely.
putting on the child, but if the child bears witness to you treating other people extremely poorly, there's something to be said for that as well. So I absolutely agree with that point that you just made.
Absolutely. That's a good point you made too, is not only the abuse that is directed towards the child, but the abuse that may be even indirectly from the child. Thank you for bringing that point up, because that is, I saw both of those for me. But getting back to 19, you felt good. You felt real
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Go
Most
ahead. Yeah.
productive and unproductive time in my life. I could go days without sleep. It was magnificent, truly. I started drinking a little bit too much during that time. I learned that my car could go so fast. I truly didn't feel like anything could touch me. And that's so hard to explain to people. Most people, I feel like, can't wrap their head around it unless they've been there.
Mm-hmm.
It is a scary mindset to be in. It's not good. I'll see TikTok comments saying, "Oh, I wish I could be manic. I could clean my house." That's not it, honey.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying place to be because there is a disconnect from reality, a very strong disconnect from reality. I went to a different psychiatric office per the recommendation of a friend. I sought help somewhere else. I felt like my current psychiatrist wasn't really listening to anything I was saying if I went to the appointments at all. So I transferred offices and they took one look at me and were like, how about you just sit over in that chair? We'll get you in today. And I was like, well, don't you normally have like a week waiting period, you know? Because I just did a walk-in. I didn't even call them or anything. I was like, I heard y'all were good.
Mm-hmm.
I just walked into their office and they're like, sit over there. Just stay there. How are you doing today? We'll talk to you. Just stay right there. I realize now I didn't really get it at the time. They were a little concerned
Yep.
by how I was presenting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, looking back, I presented so well. I thought no one knew what was really going on, but I've seen old pictures. I wasn't fooling anyone. I got into the office that day. They looked at my prescription list and saw that SSRI, and they began tapering me off of it and replaced it with a antipsychotic. I will say the antipsychotic was extremely helpful for me. Just again, medication has its place and it can be so helpful, but it can also cause problems. So I'm, again, fully believe in medication. I'm very fortunate and very grateful that I've been medication free for 3 years, but it does have its place and it's
Yay.
there if you need it.
Yeah, good for you. Me too.
Thank you.
I've been medication free for like 4 years.
That's awesome.
Um, so I that's why I applauded. Y'all couldn't hear it, but I applauded Alexis. Because that is a big accomplishment. It takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of mental stability, takes a lot of confidence. And are you okay? What it does is, I know for me, and I speak a lot of I statements because I don't want to project on anyone.
Yeah.
Uh, I know for me, when I decided to do that, my wife and my fiance at the time was like, listen, if you feel like you need to go back on at any time, you let me know.
Mm.
Because it's a responsibility. it's an accountability thing that, hey, okay, I wanted to try it without I'm like you. I needed it to get back stable to a baseline.
Yeah,
Homeostasis. I had to get back to a baseline so I could be stable enough to receive or understand the type of treatment that I needed that could work. Medication isn't necessarily for everyone, but everybody's recovery or treatment looks different. I'm with
absolutely.
you. For me, I needed medication to be stable, but yeah. Congratulations. Yeah, me too. 4 years
You.
removed off of the psychiatric medication, and it to understand your body does have to regulate.
Absolutely.
So, but go ahead. Yeah, 3 years. Yeah. Good.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. It's been a fun 3 years. But yeah, I did have an unfortunate IVC, which is involuntarily committed to a psychiatric hospital. Um, it was, for me, the IVC experience wasn't, it was helpful, but not how I expected. Looking back, it was traumatizing. It was trauma. They had police sirens that would go off anytime there was a fight, which there were a remarkable amount of while I was in there. And people would just walk into your room and then you lose all autonomy. It was trauma in its own regard. But it did help me from like killing myself for a week. So there's something to be said for that.
Hmm.
You truly have no autonomy in there. Um, and during this time, I was on the antipsychotic and it was toning me down. I was getting off the SSRI. Things were starting to calm down, but I still was kind of, and I feel like I can refer to myself this way, unhinged. I was truly unhinged. One night in a drunken stupor, pierced my own collarbone. I didn't even do it right. Like, it would have been cool if I had done it right, but I was not thinking ahead enough to actually research how to do it. It looks cool for like the 3 weeks it stayed in, though. I think it's also worth noting that during this time, you would hear all this and think, wow, like this person sounds like a fun time. No, I was not. I was truly toxic. I was so impulsive that if you hung out with me, it almost felt like you were babysitting me. I was generally toxic. I was not able to think coherently enough to truly communicate or truly articulate any thought process. I was not thinking straight. Shortly as this was like coming down, I got pregnant with my daughter. So that was kind of the
what you,
tipping point for me.
what is so from 19? Where are we at now, Alexis?
We're about 20 now, shortly
Okay.
after turning 20.
Okay.
And that was kind of the wake up call for me. I was still kind of coming out of everything. That was it for me, that I was like, I have to change. I have been to psychiatrists, I have been to therapists. I now have to do something different because everything I have done, it's kind of worked, but it's also kind of shot me in the foot.
Before
Uh,
you before the point where you had got pregnant with your first child, who was there for you in your corner, if anyone? Because how did the IVC come about? Was there people that you could talk to? Was there anyone other? Of course, you had your psychiatrist. Your psychiatrist. You was trying to your therapist. You was trying to do it yourself. You was trying to figure it out yourself, which most of the time we do, because we don't feel like anybody would understand what we're going through or could relate. But was there anyone in your corner at that time?
there absolutely was. I was very close to a few friends. During the IVC, they actually made it so that I never was alone during any of the set visiting hours, which was incredible.
Okay.
Um, it's really hard to answer this question because of how I was at the time. Um, it stretched on for a while, and at a point, certain people decided it was not in their best interest to remain friends with me, because this stretched on for years. It's hard to have an equal friendship when I was the one who was always taking because I was always sick. Because that manic episode lasted a very long time. They usually don't last that long, but when there's medication involved, it lasts so much longer. And the ones who did remain, and there were quite a few, my husband, he's incredible. Love him so much.
Awesome. Awesome. That's such a
And I
blessing.
have, it truly is. I don't deserve him.
That's what I say about my wife. I tell her all the time, I'm like, because she loved me. She, like your husband, she was there through all of most of the mental, all of the substance use. There was one time I took her car to go use. I dropped it off at work. I had the opportunity to tell her, I was like, hey, babe, I had two opportunities to tell her that I wasn't feeling like Derek. I'm depression is kicking my butt. That urge is coming over me. I want to use. And I didn't. And I took a car, brought it back, late from picking up from work. Okay. She knows something was wrong. Took a
Yeah.
Uber, got some more. I was like, hey, babe, I don't got no more money. She came and picked me up. Yeah. She loved
Wow.
she loves me when Alexis, and listeners and viewers, when I didn't have anything. So I'm with you. I don't deserve my wife because she loved me. I was like, I have a car and some trash bags in my car. I don't know what's in them trash bags. So I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. But go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
Absolutely. So a lot of friendships from that time did end, but it's also hard to say at what point was it the mental illness and at what point was it a transitional period in life and we were splitting ways. I don't fault anyone from that time. I'm
Right.
grateful for everything. I'm grateful for everyone. Sometimes people are in your life for a short period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. And you're grateful for the time that it's there. Completely grateful for all of it. But yes, I still do have a few friends from that time. Um, but yeah, I think I'll fast forward a little bit. When I was still on heavy antipsychotics and a few other medications around, I want to say it was January of 2020. This was kind of what led me to decide that medication may no longer be in my best interest. I was using it instead of trying to deal with my own problems. And yes, I do believe that there's a heavy biological component to the obsessive compulsive disorder. I do believe that there's a lot that I was born with, but I also believe that there is a point of it that I can choose to deal with, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
agree 100%. There's some things that you are what's the word biologically affected. What is it? I can't even think about it because my brain doesn't work the way it used to. And I tell my wife, uh, like you said, there's things that you are born with, and there are things that you choose. So I agree with. I can't. My mind doesn't work. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. That's my brain's still trying to recover.
Yeah.
So, uh, but yeah, I agree with you. There's some things that are biologically that you are supposed to that you inherit that you can't get away from, and then there are things that you choose to continue to do, even though sometimes you're like, okay, wait, this is becoming very unmanageable. My life is kind of spiraling, right? And you feel it and you see it and you're aware, but then you still choose, it ain't that bad. Or
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over here and do something else. Cause me, I like to party and numb and escape and have fun in that way. But go ahead. Yes, absolutely. I agree.
It was hitting the point of kind of what you were saying. At what point am I driving the ship as it's going underwater and trying to drive it back up and trying to fix the problems? And at what point am I just like, yeah, this is my life now and just watching it burn and go underground?
Yeah.
When do I try to put a stop to that? So, and this is such a weird story. I was taking medication anytime I had any problem at all. At this point, I was for myself using the psychiatrist kind of instead of dealing with my own problems. I was on extremely heavy doses at this point. I was laying in bed one day. My daughter, my oldest, was about 4 months old at this time. It's such a strange memory. I got kind of confused, which is normal when you have a newborn, to kind of become disoriented because it's a disorienting time. And I almost forgot what room I was in. I was thinking about going to the bathroom, but I obviously wasn't. I was laying in bed and I ended up wetting the bed, which is extremely embarrassing. So I looked down, I realized what had happened. And then I was just so upset because that's an upsetting thing to happen. I was like, did I seriously just do this? And I started having images flash in my head of, I'm not going to be able to care for my child. I have to get straight now so I can take care of my child. I'm not going to be able to have a job. I'm not going to be able to live successfully in the world if I can't even go to the bathroom.
Was that a moment of clarity for you
It
right then
was.
and there? Okay.
It, it was the most embarrassing moment of clarity I have ever had. Um, And strangely enough, and this was a God thing, this was the universe, this was God sending me the strangest message because I have not found this clip since. I had Netflix just playing in the background. Um, and a documentary was on of monks who could control their body temperature. And I stared at that documentary. I don't know why it resonated with me, but I was sitting there looking at it. If these monks can use their brain and their thought patterns to control their heartbeat, to control their body temperature, to control all of these things, and I can't even think a straight thought, I can't go to the bathroom. And that was kind of my catalyst. Like, okay, if they have that level of control upon themselves, how can I get some of that? How can I try and use my brain to control just what it's thinking? I don't have to get to that level, but just to control the here and now, just to be aware of where I am.
Mm.
And it's super strange because I have done a lot of Googling and I have yet to find that documentary again. It doesn't even, I don't like, I know it exists somewhere,
It
but I
does.
haven't found it. So I, within 3 days, was at the psychiatrist's office and was like, I think I'm going to try stopping my medication because I'm so drugged up, I'm kind of just laying in bed all the time. And again, there's a time and a place for it. But at this point, I need to see what I can do with my own brain. If it's wired to be the way it is right now, maybe I can try rewiring it. I started looking into neuroelasticity. I started trying to meditate more, which is bare minimum, just being aware of your surroundings, the here, the now. I really I tried fixing my diet. There's stuff to be said for that too. And I was able to successfully come off my medication. And I'm extremely, extremely grateful for that.
I'm very thankful that God had put that intervene in that way for you
Mm-hmm.
and that whole story, what
Absolutely.
was going on. That was, like you said, that was your moment of clarity. Uh, that brought you back to reality. Like, oh, okay, Alexis, I need to make some changes. I believe everything that you talked about is learned behavior,
Mm-hmm.
is a way for you to, or for us, including myself, when I'm depressed, now that
Mm-hmm.
I'm off the medication, there's certain things that I can't go and do that I did before when I was on my medication or when I was in my stages of active using.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's certain behaviors I can't do in that depression that could trigger a mental health crisis. Uh, I had to learn, like yourself, other ways: diet, sleep, prayer, meditation. I had to learn different skills and have different things. And I say my first aid kit. Some people say their toolbox. I know for me, I use it as more military thinking. For me, I use it as my first aid kit before that first aid kit can get me to triage, which is I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call Alexis. I'm going to pick up the phone and call my boy Cody. I'm gonna pick up the phone and call my sponsor. I'm gonna call my pastor. I'm gonna go to, for me, also go to an NA meeting or call my psychiatrist. And change my thinking when these intrusive thoughts, these compulsions, these obsessions that come into my mind. How can I remove them? Recovery, I say this and the listeners know, and I want to get your opinion on it. For me, recovery is inspirational change moving forward. It's just not mental health. It's just not substance use exclusively using for those things. I believe recovery is whatever it is that can inspire you to change yourself positively moving forward. For me, it's a hot shower. I know when I was out there homeless, I there was rarely hot showers, food, having that's recovery, going outside to get some sun on my face, uh, holding your babies, kissing your children. You know what I mean? Holding your husband's hand or holding my wife's hand. Sometimes for me, just going to go help my dad cut the grass is recovery. So what do you think about that as far as the learned behavior, changing things to inspire positive change moving forward? Oh, you're good.
I absolutely agree with you. I was muting it. My fan. Oh, hi.
All right.
Say hi. Wave. Wave up here so I can see you. There you go. I absolutely agree with you 105%. It's kind of funny, but kind of sad at the same time. If when I was in the worst of things, if someone had said, you can fix your problems if you just like sleep, like there's a lot to be said for sleeping and the fact that you've only eaten pizza for the past week, maybe eat something with some nutritional substance. I would have been angry. I'm like, well, I have mental health problems. Like I'm crazy. Like I'm born this way. I didn't want to hear that there is an element that I can control. There was so much improvement just in reducing my sugar and just eating fruits and vegetables and getting a full 8+ hours at night, moving my body. Turns out we're not supposed to sit down all day. That learned behavior when I realized just to take control of taking care of myself like you would take care of a baby. You know, you have to feed them, you have to give them exercise. Well, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Move the legs. Yeah. Move the
Yeah,
legs back and
something.
forth. Yes.
Tummy time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just those basic things, so much can be said for that. And it's truly astounding just how much of an improvement those little things can make. And I've realized that for me now, some of the best things that I can do is if I'm starting to feel upset, I'll just take a moment and think, okay, what's bothering me like right now? In this very second, I'm a little bit sweaty. It's hot outside. If that's a situation I'm starting to feel agitated, okay, I might turn the air conditioning up. I might go into a cooler room. Drinking water, I'll take assessments on when I've last eaten. Stay down there. Stay down there. Thank you. Going outside is a huge thing for me. Gardening, landscaping, working on the lawn, those things truly, truly helped me. Which is crazy. If you had told me that, 4 or 5 years ago, I would have laughed in your face, been like, no, I need highest dose of medication. I need the
Right.
best therapist, which there's something to be said for that too. But right now, the dirt has thankfully been a good enough therapist for me the last couple years.
And that's good. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you, of course, giving the listeners and the viewers under the impression that, yeah, medication can help. Yes, therapy can help. One-on-one therapy, talk therapy, support groups can help. But sometimes it's just about the simplicity of appreciating life and understanding how your body moves and how your mind thinks and how to, okay, there's an intrusive thought coming in. I'm aware of that. I learned the treatment was called RAIN. They call it RAIN: recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. I was like, okay, what do you mean? Well, recognize. Recognize what? Recognize what's going on around you. What's coming into your subconscious? What's coming into your conscious? What's coming into your mind? What's coming into your heart? What's coming into all your senses? I feel a certain way now. Okay, allow that feeling to happen. Investigate that feeling. Why am I feeling this way? Good, bad, or indifferent? And then nurture. Nurture yourself. Meaning, what can I do to change how I'm feeling or explore how I'm feeling, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and not let that emotion or that feeling dictate my actions or my behavior. That I use that acronym a lot when I speak or just for me because it makes a lot of sense. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's exactly what you're talking about. The simplicity of being aware and understanding what your body needs. I think that's fantastic that you said that. And I thank you for sharing that. I really do.
Absolutely. And I've never heard of the RAIN acronym, but I'm totally going to use that now to better articulate what I'm trying to say so I can sound like kind of smart, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I've been through a lot of treatment. It ain't because I was smart. It's because I messed up a lot. I snorted. Oh my goodness. Anyway, it's because I've been in psychiatrics and detoxes and treatment facilities for substance use, and it's just that caught my attention, and I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet. I know that's right." Um, being a mother, I know that helps, and being a wife, I know that helps. Being with a family, I know that helps put things into perspective for you.
Absolutely.
How
It,
has understanding the responsibilities and blessing of having your husband, having your children help you with your mental stability?
it's changed my perspective. You'll hear parents say, "Oh, I have," or "Oh, like I shouldn't fail now. I should do my best." I think for me, it's not that I have no choice but to succeed. I have no choice but to be well. I have no choice but to be the best Alexis I can be at this time, whatever that may be. If that's just kind of doing basic, or if that's excelling,
Mm-hmm.
I have no choice to but to succeed at this point. Is kind of how I feel about it. Um, because those things that I endured as a child, the things that I may have seen, that kind of led me to go through the things that I went through, that it would destroy me if my children went through. So I guess my goal in life is just to make sure they can just have it 1% better than I had. And thankfully, things have improved so much in the last couple of years, because I haven't had the option to fail. There's a lot to be said for that.
Would you, how far have you come?
It's day and night difference. I actually can, I think the biggest difference for me is when the day is done, when everyone's asleep, when it's quiet, I can sit and be content with my own thoughts.
How did you get to that point?
It has been an uphill battle. I've had to have tough conversations, and a lot of it was disciplining myself. On the days where I didn't feel like doing it, when I just didn't want to brush my teeth, I would make myself. When I didn't want to clean just a walkway, you know, you don't have to have a spotless house, but you have to have a walkway you can walk through. I would make myself get up and do it. That level of
Mm.
discipline, coupled with not having the option to fail, not having the option to just, I wouldn't let myself, when I was doing bad, you know, consume any type of substance. When you don't have the option to fail, succeeding is all you can do. And that might not work for everyone, and that's okay. Truly, I began meditating, being aware of the here and the now, and that helped with that RAIN analysis. If something was wrong, I could assess it. I already forgot what the letter stood for, but
Recognize, allow, investigate, nurture.
okay. So the investigate one, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But So it was scary. It was terrifying when I heard this saying once, when all you know is chaos, then calm seems boring. And terrifying. It was so scary. Oh my goodness. Just making those little changes, like coming off medication, was so scary. There was a while we, kind of traveled around in an RV. That was scary. Doing things outside of the norm, that was scary. I was so used to being so busy all the time that when we made the decision for me to be a stay-at-home mom like I am right now, that was scary. So the whole process has been terrifying. I would like to be like, oh yeah, it's been a piece of cake. One day I just decided I wasn't going to take medicine anymore and I was healed just like that. I wish I could say that was the case, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Just it hasn't been as many big decisions. It's been more day-to-day small decisions, and a lot back to the whole discipline thing.
I liked how you said discipline. I love that word. I had discipline to a certain degree in the military. I had structure. I had a routine. I like routines. I like structure. I like discipline. I like how you said doing it when I did not feel like doing it. That's where discipline really shows up. Anybody can do something when oh yeah, let's do it. I feel good today. It's a great day. The sun is out. The birds are chirping. Butterflies are butterflying. But man, I don't feel like getting out of bed today. And I'm not hungry. Just close the blinds. But you still get out of bed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something to be said about that. Doing it in spite of not wanting to do it. Doing that recovery treatment that you set for yourself. Do you take it minute by minute, Alexis? Do you take it minute by minute, moment by moment?
It depends on the day. Some days it's day by day. Some days it's second by second.
Okay.
Thankfully, at this point, I'm enjoying every minute, but we're doing good these days. We're doing much better. I'm so just grateful for every step of the journey, and it was hard and it was painful and it hurt, but we're here now, and I'm going to be more grateful.
Sorry about that. I wanted, and gratitude is, got to have gratitude, got to be grateful and appreciative of the things that we have, because I know for me, I took a lot of things for granted, and I'm learning not to murmur. I'm learning not to chatter. I'm learning not to. We'll get to that gratitude, and hold on. In the next maybe 3 or 4 minutes, we're going to get to that, because gratitude is very, very important.
Oh, but I always want to be grateful.
Always. But I got you. We're going to get to that. We always got to be grateful. Absolutely. But I want you to give me some things that you're grateful for. But in next maybe 2 minutes, I wanted to ask you this real quick. How important is it for a support system? Do you have a support system that you can lean on in times of trials and tribulations, in times of where I might need to pick up the phone, I might need to have somebody come over? I mean, yeah, you got your husband, you got your kids, but do you have a support system? If you do, how important is that for you?
It is so important. Right after postpartum, you always kind of go into a little trench postpartum. Even on the good days, it's hard. I was able to really rely on some friends of mine. My family is like, love them so much. My husband, 10 out of 10. I don't deserve him. He's out of my league. He's absolutely in that support system. But it is so important because we as human beings are social animals. We aren't made to do this alone. Some things we have to do alone, as that's just life. But it makes the hard times easier and it makes the good times better because you have someone to share those successes with. So it's important, don't just call people when you're down. Call them when you're up too. Be like, hey, it's a beautiful day. Let's go sniff some flowers or something.
Right.
But I've got a really good support system right now, and I'm very, very grateful for them.
I'm very happy for you and glad for you and where you've come from in your story. And this is only the beginning is of of joy and peace that is going to bless your home and your family, um, because of what you went through, and your story can touch so many lives and impact so many people, even if it's just one person. That's the point of what we do here on Play the Tape. Speaking of gratitude, give me a couple things that you're grateful for. And the reason that I do this, and my viewers know and my listeners know that I do this on every show, for the most part, man. Season one, I was trying to get everything together and learning the ins and outs. But as the show and the platform progresses, I always ask people, give me a couple things that you're grateful for. And the reason I do this is because when I go and speak at institutions and hospitals and correctional facilities, I let my brothers and sisters know, listen, the reason that I ask this question is because when life's when life is going to life and get heavy and trials and tribulation are going to come, instead of focusing on what we don't got, let's focus on the blessings that we do have. Looking at the glass as half full instead of half empty. Holding on to those things that keep us grounded, that keep us firm and planted on a foundation of mental stability and recovery and God. That way, and family, and promoting life that way. Okay, I know these things I'm grateful for. I'm holding on to these things. That way it doesn't overwhelm me. What are some things that you are grateful for that you hold on to, that when life comes at you, you can plant your feet firm on that foundation of like, no, this is what I'm holding on to. I know why I'm holding on to it, and I'm not going to go back to what it used to be.
As if it weren't obvious enough, my family, kids, knowing you can't fail them, husband, household, just everything, day to day. There are so many little joys in those day to day moments. I love when my 3-year-old just comes up and gives me kisses, like you probably
She
saw a few
she
minutes ago.
did. She
Oh my
did. She
gosh.
was so shy at first, but then she was like, "Okay, hey, I'm on camera."
She lives for the camera.
She kissed you on the cheek. I love that. Yes, absolutely. Her 3-year-old daughter. If you can't, if you don't know, she came into the camera. She was so shy, so cute, and just kissed her mom on the cheek. I I love that. That's great gratitude for me too. That
Oh
made my
yeah.
day. Yeah, that made my day.
Mine too. I was trying not to have too much of an audible response to that, but I was like, oh, inside,
No,
oh my gosh.
yes, you let it go. This will be seen on YouTube and on Facebook. The people will be able to see the video, not only hear the audio, but they'll be able to see our
Okay.
reactions and what happened, because that was just adorable, and and she was
I
too
was
cute.
I wasn't sure how much of like the video was gonna be shared. I didn't want to be like, aw, and then people would just sit there like, what's going on, you know?
Oh, they
Didn't want
know now.
anyone to
Oh,
confuse.
I
Okay,
was gonna make
perfect.
sure we talk about. Yeah, I was that. Yeah, that wasn't gonna go untalked about. Yeah, that definitely was a gratitude moment right there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. So, I for me, it's family too. My kids, um, just being able to have another day here, with clean, with my mental stability. Um, my wife, God, of my understanding, my high power, who I choose to call God, um, the different fellowships, the different things that I am called to do and to serve my community. Excuse me, being of service
Yes.
is
Yes.
is one of the biggest things that I'm grateful for. But Alexis, listen, I thank you
Thank
for
you.
being up here. Love you, my sister. You got a beautiful family. You keep doing what you're doing. You keep being grateful. You keep being that remarkable woman that you are in all aspects. And I thank you for sharing your testimony and coming up here with your experience, strength, and hope for my listeners, giving them that encouragement that you did. So I thank you for that.
And I thank you so much for having me up here again today. It's truly been therapeutic to just come up here and talk to you. You're very easy to talk to. And I am so excited to listen to not just this podcast, but your other episodes as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alexis. Listen, until next time, I love you and I appreciate you. And excuse me, we'll get you up here again later on, because I always let people know, tell my guests I would love for them to come back, because what you talk about today uh, may not be in the same place you are maybe a month, 6 months, a year from now.
Mhm.
Things, life experiences could go up and down, but how you deal with them and how you engage them is what keeps us coming back and what keeps other
Absolutely.
people coming back. It's like, okay, let's see what Alexis is talking about 6 months from now. What has happened? What has transpired? And how does she handle that? So I would love for you to come back and
Absolutely.
be a recurring guest on the show. So,
Well, thank
but
you so much.
absolutely. Thank you, Alexis. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thank you.
All
Love
right.
you, brother.
Love you too. Peace. Another show, another episode. That was good. I enjoyed talking to her. I enjoy talking to all my guests, to be honest with you. There's hasn't really been a bad show, and even if it is, it's about the message of recovery. It's about the message of God. It's about the message of spirituality. It's about the message of fellowship and family and community and support. That's what this platform is. Hey, if no one has not told you today that they love you, I love you, we love you, and most importantly, God loves you. There are people like myself and Alexis and all my guests and all my future guests that will jump down in that pit with you because they know the way out. That's what we do. That is our responsibility. That is our duty. With understanding comes peace. With peace comes love. With love comes hope. With hope comes faith. With faith comes recovery. I'm enjoying this journey with y'all, and I thank y'all for coming with me. Until next time, peace.